Now let's bring you the major stories making headlines across Nigeria this morning. We're joined by public affairs analyst Theophilus Akatugba. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Pleasure to be here with you this fine morning.
Yes. Now let's get straight into we'll start with the Punch newspapers this morning. It says here, Telecom's tariff hike, subscribers meet NCC today as Labour mobilizes for showdown. Labour officials talk tough, insist telcos must be prevented from exploiting Nigerians. We can also see here the President Bola Tinubu opens Abuja barracks, promises better soldiers' welfare. There's a bit of criticism yesterday with the number of national assets that have been named after, Mr. President here and there. Opposition cautions against diversion of 4 billion naira household bailout. We can also find police forced retirement. Falana urges Tinubu to reinstate 20 generals and 18 others. Refineries revamp. Marketers eye rehabilitation of NNPCL 21 depots. And also how we rescued ex-AIG's wife and killed abductors, says police. Oyebanji kicks against Sharia court in Ekiti, warns opposition. OAU students murder, I beg your pardon. Appeal court affirms Oshun hotelier's death sentence. We spoke about that earlier. Those are the major stories on the Punch newspapers this morning.
All right, away from the Punch now, let's go straight to the Daily Independent and see what we have there on the front page of Daily Independent. It says, we are tackling grid collapse with building of 34 substations. Federal government says 8 billion naira in 2025 budget for protection of power infrastructure. Our electricity has reached a 3-year high of 5,528 megawatts. Interesting. Federal government okays 4 billion naira conditional cash transfer for vulnerable households. Approves 2 billion naira interest-free loans for rural farmers. Shatima Abdulsalami Atiku Obi to proffer solutions to electoral malpractices and others. Tinubu assures of his commitment to welfare of Nigerian army. Murder of OAU student. Appeal court upholds Adedoyin's death sentence. Nigerian youths, very resourceful, admired globally, according to Oluremi Tinubu. And also, we have another story here. Governor Mufwang mourns Jeremiah Hussaini. I'm going to take just one more at the top there. It says, NANS threatens nationwide protest over 50% telecom tariff hike. That's another story to look into. But, these are the stories I'm going to take on the front page of Daily Independent.
This Nigerian newspapers comes up next. It says here, skyrocketing food prices, eroding minimum wage. Workers urge government to find ways of addressing cost of living crisis. Rep Speaker Abbas blames agricultural decline and farmers' displacement on insecurity in critical farming zones. Former FCT Minister Jeremiah Hussaini dies at 82. And Tinubu feels the plight of Nigerians, says Wiki at Kuje Road Commission, and charges companies on corporate social responsibility. NDLEA intercepts 134.2 billion naira narcotic drugs at Tinkan Port in just 1 year. And also the federal government plans stricter sanctions for airlines over delays and cancellations. We probably should just start with your thoughts on the passing of former FCT Minister Jeremiah Hussaini. He was top, political figure, in the 90s, leading into the, into Nigeria's, return to democracy and, a bit further. But of course, it's reported they had a prolonged illness.
Yeah, as one ages, the system of the body also ages along and they tend to give way one after the other. And he died at a good age of 82, in spite of the fact that his last days were dotted with illness. This should be a reminder that no matter the standard, the quality of life, life has a debt to pay. Everyone has a debt to pay, and that day surely comes.
Yeah.
And we hear on a daily basis, some people we've not seen in a long while, we just hear that they have passed, because in the last 10 years or so, they've been battling with the normal old age or aging challenges. And so the Bible says that it is better to go to the house of mourning than to go to the house of celebration. And when I read that scripture, I didn't understand it first time. And later on, I started understanding it. That's where you become sober and think of the end and do what is right. And so our politicians should learn that a day surely comes when you will breathe your last.
Very sad. I mean, he's going to be remembered for a whole lot of things. Anyway, we'll come back to that story because I know we still have it in one of the other papers as well. But I want you to quickly look at this story. Let me go to Daily Independent. Let's look at Nigeria's power sector. I mean, the minister is saying 8 billion naira in 2025 budget for protection of power infrastructure. So it's about protecting the infrastructure, and it talks about building 34 substations. First of all, how would you, what's your scorecard of the Minister of Power?
From where I stand and the services that I enjoy from where I am located in Lagos, I'll give them a very resounding pass mark. But other Nigerians don't feel the same way. Because I enjoy 24 hours according to the Band A promise, and it's relatively, compared to how Nigeria has always been, and having lived outside and lived in Ghana for so many years and other African countries, I think if that, what we are enjoying in the location that we are in, and it is, we can multiply that and it goes across the country, Nigeria would have achieved what all these African countries, smaller African countries have achieved in terms of reliability of electricity supply and the fact that you have it. I cannot remember how much, I have not spent more than 10,000 in 10,000 in electricity in the last 6 months, in generating fuel. And so from that point and other feedbacks that I get, those in Band A who are enjoying the service as promised, and the level of response of the electricity people to breakdowns, and the fact that people, a lot of areas are reporting positive development. I would say that we must give the minister, the minister some kudos. Now look at the issue of vandalization. I always tell us that if we don't develop our citizenship and improve on the quality of our homes, we'll spend more on security. You see, 8 billion to protect. Many other countries will spend that 8 billion to improve the infrastructure. And so this is what I say, what we talk about. First, we must be patriotic. We must protect what the country owns and all of that. It gives room for politicians to take advantage of us, because 8 billion to protect, at the end of the day, you might find that only 1 billion was spent, but it has become a budget item. Protection of power infrastructure. Yeah. Just the way we'll be protecting pipelines, to the extent that the pipelines that this country invested in have been abandoned. We are trucking products across the country, far distant travels. And that has the effect of making affecting the movement of petroleum products. And sometimes some areas will not have product because these are products we could have easily pushed through the pipelines. But because over the years, pipeline vandalization became a big business, people looked on, people even participated in it, and now we abandon those pipelines that were acquired or installed with heavy investment. Same thing is happening to the electricity sector. You hear that people just go there, vandalize, and they've got to restore them. It is a real big problem, and I hope that we will not be seeing this kind of budget item as we improve the quality of our citizens and the quality of our human development.
Yeah, I mean, it's completely shocking to even see it in the first place. You know, and I always like to remind a lot of, when we have this type of conversations, that very much hasn't changed, you know, with the way that we do things in Nigeria. And criticisms from the 8th National Assembly or the 7th National Assembly is no different from criticism today. You know, the way and manner with which we drop our budgets 10 years ago is pretty much the same thing now. You know, there's nothing that has changed. And so I don't expect that there will be different results in the end if we want to put 8 billion naira in sensitization when there's a National Orientation Agency that is fully functional. The National Orientation Agency should be the one that, you know, handles these projects. And I don't know what type of sensitization that you need to put 8 billion naira into to tell people to not vandalize power infrastructure. the bandits that they've blamed for destroying power infrastructure in parts of northern Nigeria, they don't need sensitization. You know, I mean, those are bandits. Except you're referring to the petty thieves in different parts of the country that, you know, go to vandalize transformer. But the point is, it's completely shocking.
They say the money is for protection.
Oh, okay, well.
It's for the protection.
It's for the protection.
Yes.
Okay, well, interesting. Which is, again, it's still not meant to be their responsibility.
That's what I'm saying. It's a sign of failing.
Yeah, I agree
because
with
if you fail to properly orient your citizens, properly develop them, if you allow homes to continue to falter the way Nigeria does not take care of the family unit enough, the result of it is that you spend more money in securing the society.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It's a similar point with education as well.
The system.
If there's no educational system that we don't have now, we have to spend money dealing with all these.
Over the years, we have been miseducated. And so we have generally, as a people, we have interesting mindsets from different parts of the country. Everyone is angry over what he doesn't understand.
Would you also argue, you know, when you mentioned Band A, and, you know, from your own personal experience, you give them a pass, but what is the percentage of Nigerians that are on Band A? And the country is still dealing with 4,000 megawatts of electricity.
They said we have moved to 5,000. We have achieved 5,000 plus.
So
now, that's the report in the newspaper we're reviewing.
Okay, 5,000.
5,000 plus, which is a progress. But don't forget that the discos over the years have been the missing link. They continue to reject electricity that is delivered to them because the end user, the consumer, is not paying adequately, and there's leakages in the system. Those leakages are very obvious around us. I know of an estate that is currently in court somewhere in Aja area, in court with the electricity people, or whether their management over electricity management, where there is what you call the estate itself is an off-taker from PHD and a resell to a citizen, to estate resident. Now, what is happening there? They get every month, they have, if they buy 100 million or 200 million worth of electricity, by the time they sell to their estate people, there is still a shortfall of 27, 30 or 15 million that they all have to share, meaning someone in the estate is still in the light. This is a small area. It's replicated all over. And in many of these rural communities and shanty areas, the stealing is humongous. That's why they give them barely 4 hours, because they are trying to protect the leakages. So when they migrate people to Band A, they've relatively looked at that area that is properly well metered, or the area is controlled, and they know that leakages have been reduced. Then they migrate the people to Band A. But when they are giving you 4 hours, 5 hours, they are just afraid that if you give them 24 hours, most of it will be stolen.
Yeah, the point I was trying to make is that doesn't necessarily paint the picture of what Nigeria's power sector is. You know, if only Band A people are speaking, you know, because, well, in our area, we're not going to steal electricity, and we pay our bills regularly, so we have regular electricity. But a larger percentage of Nigerians down Band B and C and D and K and Band...
But this is what I tell Nigerians. I'm somebody that I will look at where we are and look at, is there anything we are doing to change the situation? In the past, the attitude has been that all Nigerians should have light. You understand? We should make sure there's electricity.
Yeah.
And we never got there.
And water.
So now they said, okay, let's find another way. Let's get those who can have this number, let's move them to the A. Let them enjoy the power and pay for it. Those in Band B, you will continue to be managed until you get to that threshold. Today, the NLC is saying, don't move people. Leave them in Band B. How can the NLC say that when we are all supposed to be moving to Band A as the ultimate goal of the entire country?
Yeah. Anyway, let's move to other things. I also want you to talk about, still something similar, the telecoms tariff hike. You know, subscribers meet NCC today as Labour mobilizes for showdown. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, you know why government in the past shy away from removal of subsidy? They shy away from floating the currency. The implication of that, all the other governments sat in every room and they discussed the effect on the Nigerian economy.
Yeah.
When you remove fuel subsidy, the first thing you have done, and all the cost of running telecom services have jumped up. What do you expect? If they buy any part, it's bought at twice or thrice the price. If they buy services that are rendered by a third party. So if you say the telcos should not be given an opportunity to have a raise, how do you expect that business to actually function optimally to the satisfaction of the citizens that are using it? What's the use of having a phone that will not function optimally? That cost will drop. Not only that, your quality of your data services will be low. Everyone has moved up in prices in this country, including government services. Are you saying the telcos do not deserve a raise in their businesses when you know the cost of managing cell sites have gone up? I am a realistic person when I assess the system. A lot of things are still the cheapest in our country. Sometimes I tell them we over push it to the extent that we stifle life out of the businesses because we have underpriced our goods and people are not even paying the right salaries in Nigeria. Nigerians are underpaid all over. We are the most underpaid citizens in the world. And yet we feel that we are doing well. That's why once these subsidies were removed, all of us became exposed. Because over the years, in the guise of this low rate of things, we have underpaid ourselves. A Nigerian doing the same job, doing better, is getting peanuts compared to his partner or who lives in Ghana doing the same job.
Yeah.
And Ghanaians are not economically better off than Nigeria in terms of when you look at it on the macro level. Why then should we always fight to keep reducing the opportunity for businesses to give better services, to keep reducing the opportunity for businesses to do well? This is the only country where you drink yogurt, you don't have yogurt, you don't have something else. Because the people who manufacture it, they are benchmarking against what people would like to pay and not what people should really enjoy as yogurt.
So in other words, if Nigerians want the best, you just have to be ready to pay for it.
That is what.
Yeah, but unfortunately, can Nigerians afford to pay for it?
No, they cannot afford immediately, but they will be able once they are paid well.
So do you agree that the tariff hike?
You see, where we are now,
50%, is it not too sudden?
You know why telecom services are not, they don't move prices easily. Just check how long ago the current regime has been operating. They normally go for the highest peak so they can retain for 10, 20 years or 15 years. Otherwise, they will be asking every now and then for increments.
Well, some persons are saying at least they should do 10% first or do 15.
They asked for 100%.
I know.
So
it was 100%,
if they give them 50%,
yeah, 50.
They must have looked at it, but we can still continue to agitate.
I actually do agree with the need to increase
Yes.
tariffs. I mean, I agree. And the argument, of course, is pretty much something you've mentioned, which is operational costs have increased over time, and so it's difficult for them to maintain the quality of service that we want without, getting the funding for it. And of course, Nigeria's not been able to pay for it. But it brings us back to, the ability of Nigerians to afford to even pay for it. And that's why, again, the segregation about Band A and Band B, it left a sour taste in many people's mouths because, what that meant really is that you are now going to be giving priority to only those who can afford to pay for it. And imagine telecoms do the same thing. That when you buy, 5,000 airtime, or this caliber of airtime, you have good service. But when you buy the lower caliber of airtime, then you will get poor service. Your data will work faster when you buy, this particular service. I mean, imagine they then have to do that, in order to make ends meet. But yes, operational costs have increased, and so there needs to be some way that it shifted. Does Nigerian government feel, NCC now, or sorry, the Nigerian Labour Congress is going to protest.
The Labour Congress is actually, I want to speak to the Labour Congress.
Yeah, I mean, so who do you think their conversation should be directed to?
No, the Labour Congress want to meet with, is it the regulator?
Yeah, the regulator.
Correct. They need to meet with the regulator, but the regulator has to justify why they approve 50%. There are indeed figures, there are evidence that no business in Nigeria within the last 5 months that have not moved prices up. Even those who trade on our streets. The price at which we buy roasted plantain has moved.
Corn.
So corn has moved.
Season is coming, and
so
I know that.
We cannot deny others because they are a regulated sector.
Even bread.
Yeah, have moved. We cannot deny these people the opportunity to expand and do better. We don't want these businesses to collapse. That is not the reason they invested in Nigeria. That's not the reason we even need them, because if they collapse, before we get other people into the system to get used to it, we will suffer from the lack of the use of these services. We must fight for the best. Everybody must agitate, but let us not do it with a mindset that they don't deserve to move price.
I mean, like we said here on Breakfast Central, we've been clear about it. We agree that they must review their prices upwards, because if you list all the challenges they're facing right now, I don't think any company would face these or those challenges and still remain in business, especially here in Nigeria. But the argument has just been about what percentage.
What beats me, I've not heard the media broadcasters have not also come up to say they are reviewing their prices. I've not seen that. The prices I see.
Well, thanks for bringing that up.
Are still old rates.
Well, I can categorically tell you that some of the media houses have done so.
They've done so.
They reviewed their prices. Their rate cards have changed.
I think they're also being considerate about the ability of clients to pay. So you got to review, no doubt. But how many people are going?
But that's an area I like to speak to. The Nigerian media over the years have not priced themselves appropriately because they also did not invest in content enough to deliver the eyeballs that a higher advertising rate, delivers. The SABC in South Africa, as at the time, 10 years or 15 years ago, they charged up to $10,000 for one 30 seconds advertising rate on primetime programming. And that was a country then that they were paying up to $6,000 for 1 minute of a soap opera. So if you look at that, they invest in content and then they actually charge the right amount for advertising, and they have remained some of the premium broadcast television country in terms of content delivery and all of that. You see, why you charge peanuts, you will never be able to deliver the service because media is expensive to run. And because Nigerians, we seem to have lost eyeballs out of the traditional television, we are still now unable to price ourselves properly.
Well, you do have a point, but I can also share with you that there are many factors underlying the reason why you'd find most media houses not being able to price way higher. But I don't think News Central is the same, by the way. I agree with your argument concerning the investment that has been put in. Invest in the quality of content. So you can then, even if a lot of people would still struggle because, I think a lot of media houses also don't have a long-term expectations. They don't have this is where we want to be in 5 or 10 years. The normal projection is that if you do things well, you should be making money. Let's make money now in 3 years, in 4 years.
Maybe that's one of the things. There's definitely other reasons.
Big money in 3 years,
there's
4
definitely
years.
Please quickly respond, Joe. I'm sorry.
Go on.
The Osun State story
About the Sharia court.
No, well, there's the Sharia court one, and then there's the hotelier, who has.
Yes, I was very happy at the affirmation of a death sentence, because that was gruesome, that was dastard. In fact, you see, do you know the impact? The impact of what happened there has capacity to destroy the entire hospitality industry.
Of course.
Because when a man,
of course,
and when people no longer feel safe within hotel facilities, where it's supposed to be home away from home, in fact, more secure and safer than your own home, it destroys the effort of everyone in the sector, including tourists who will choose Nigeria as a destination.
Very true. Yeah.
And such a story will pop up, that a man who simply went to a hotel was killed. So it's so painful for the family of that man. I know that there's a lot of underhand dealings because he's a wealthy individual. He might be fighting to free himself so that he can celebrate his vindication. I know that. Yeah. But thank God that judge is holding forth and holding strong, because there's no way the judges and the judiciary, the pressure on them to get him out of the hook. I hope none of the people, when it gets to Supreme Court, I hope they will hold on, because what happened in that place till tomorrow, I just can't imagine how someone who innocently, with good condition, with a family, went to a hotel to relax on his way to school, and then he's killed. Whoever did that, And if the investigation pointed fingers and the case has gone that hog and they are able to look through it and say it's affirmed, I want to say that it will send a signal and a message to anyone who in his attempt to make inordinate wealth damages our entire life. Because you can do it in a small village, but it affects everyone.
Yeah, true. And I agree with, how it affects, hospitality business here in Nigeria. A couple of days ago, I think, I don't know if you must have seen it, a popular DJ was complaining, that she had traveled, she was in Bali and many other places, stayed in hotels, over there.
Yeah.
The day she landed in Nigeria, that day, she touched down, stayed in a big hotel here, a very big hotel here in Lagos. And, her bag was, the money in her bag was stolen.
You see?
From her hotel room, inside her hotel room, by people who came to clean the room, And so there's too much.
This brings me to the point where when Nigerians when we talk about a country, the feeling that a non-citizen have on arrival, not to talk of citizen, is very important.
Yeah.
The ambience, the welcoming, the peaceful, the security that you experience is the biggest attraction to tourists, because no one wants to go where he feel unsafe with his own money. And if we can improve the way we behave and the things we do, especially hospitality, those in transportation, because everybody who comes to Nigeria meets a driver first. The way the driver treats that person, the atmosphere in your car, and the way you welcome the person to your country, they put him in a hotel, the way hotel takes care of him, the airport staff. If you do that, and many people come to Nigeria, and each one spend $2,000, the dollar we are finding from oil, only tourists alone coming to Nigeria will give us enough dollar inflow.
The truth is, I even feel, we saw what Dirty December did.
Yes.
And the Lagos State report, how many billions of naira that was spent. Coincidentally, it was mentioned that only in Ikoyi and Victoria Island, 29 billion. I still feel that that's
29
not...
billion.
29 billion now. I still feel that that's not the actual number. Yeah. That's not the actual figures. It's even more than that. Anyway. It's even more than that, because most of the hoteliers and some of the hotels, especially on the island, the mainland is not even added. Talk about Ikeja, which is a very hot spot for hotels, especially those who want to be very close to the airport. They made more than that. So we agree that, hospitality tourism it's a very, very significant and important sector that can bring a lot, like you said, a lot of this money that you're looking for, especially in the oil and gas sector.
Get it.
But truly, if this case goes south, I think it's going to send a negative message to investors alike, to tourists and every other person that, am I going to a country where, should anything happen to me?
Well, we pray the best is done, but if he's innocent,
so be it.
So be it.
Oh, wow. Now, quickly, Ekiti State, there's no Sharia court panel in our judiciary structure, says Ekiti State government.
Well, that's good. It's timely, because the Muslims and Christians, but the state does not subscribe to Sharia law. So what would you be doing with a state that does not practice or has not implemented Sharia to have a court, for that? So I think it's good to clarify that, because it's always, what I know is that all these things have political undertone. Who will soon know why this cry and these ideas. But I think it's fair. I don't see any state in the southwest of Nigeria that is predominantly Muslim enough to want to practice Sharia.
Do you think the political undertones would get stronger?
Yes, there's no smoke without fire. I just want to wait until it blows into the wings that it is desired or designed for.
Okay. Jerry, do you have any other stories?
Yeah. I'm just going to take one last one. I'd like him to react to that one. And I'm going to go straight to the AIG's wife, ex-AIG's wife, who was abducted and eventually has gained her release. The talks here and there about how the police can actually get to work if they really want to, like we've seen in this instance.
Yes, the Nigerian police force, it's the police force of this country. I will have no doubt that they have everything in terms of intelligence, in terms of understanding, to know where things happen and how things happen. If not for the trading mentality that is within the force, they have always reason when they want to, but they have a trading mentality. And because also they are not properly funded, because if you don't fund them, they will have to run anyhow, because the person managing the force must keep his job. And so he speaks to his men to ensure they run. And so they do everything to run the organization. And that is where the country falters, where the police does not deliver services to the citizens. You hear abroad, call 911, because they are confident that the police will arrive.
Yeah.
But our police will ask you for, please transfer some money for the distressed is the one that is going to pay for the service. The police people are not well funded. The police station nearest to you is not adequately funded, because there was a day someone had a problem. It was a 2 fighting case. And I went there. The women that were detained, I said they should release them to me. The people said I should pay the bail money. I said, but pay bail, why? I inquired. The man looked at me and said, I don't understand. I pay to, are they birds or chicken that are put in a cage that I need to pay to buy them? Then now the policeman said, oh God, look, we run this station. Can't you see the bulbs? We buy them. We even paint the station where they don't give us any money. I was shocked. He explained that that's how we make collections.
Yeah.
So we should not also pretend that our government or the funding for the police is inadequate. The police boss that was defending the budget also pleaded that budgets allocated to them should be released in good time. Nigerian police need more money, more men to police this country, because the country is enmeshed in crime. Crime is the culture of the country.
Some just graduated.
So what happened to the man whose wife was, is a stark reminder to everyone that we could be victims.
Yeah.
And that we should not misuse or fail to fulfill our role when we are called upon, especially as a police officer in this country. Because tomorrow, you may be the one who need the same police. And thank God that the woman has been found. But every day, she will remember that other people could be in this situation and the police are failing them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I want to say thank you so much. Thank you for joining us to review the papers.
It's a
We
pleasure.
looked at the Punch, not forgetting to Daily Independent and This Nigeria. Wonderful stories to look through. Well, just in case you haven't gotten the papers yet, well, feel free to follow us on all socials, and we'll point you towards the right direction to do so.